Hello and welcome to the Beckoning Bookshelf. I'm your host, Jeffrey Ashcraft. We finished the Wingfeather Saga. Well, I finished the Wingfeather Saga. Finally. It was a long time coming. With Book 4, The Warden and the Wolf King. Like the others, this one was written by Andrew Peterson and originally published in 2014 and republished in 2020. Now, if you've been keeping track of the publication years for these books, you'll remember that Book 3 was originally published in 2011, and Book 4 was published in 2014. That's a 3-year gap. And that could seem like a really long wait for the final book of the series, especially after the cliffhanger ending in Book 3. Well, this delay was apparently due to a few reasons. One of which was Andrew Peterson was working on his music career and touring, which I didn't know he had a music career. I should look up his music. I wonder how much he's associated with the music in the Wingfeather Saga TV show from Angel Studios. Because that's some good music in that show. He was also apparently trying to find the right ending to the book. Well, the right ending to the series. And he was struggling with depression as well. All these things would delay this book for, I believe, at least a year from its original publication date. But it would eventually be published, and once it was, it would hit the publisher's weekly bestseller list and sell over 1 million copies. So what is this final book about? Well, the Wingfeathers are now at war. They have gained the allegiance of the warriors of the Green Hollows, who are now ready to fight Gnag the Nameless. But can they defeat Gnag and his army of Fangs, which are now attacking from the sky? Not only that, our heroes wind up separated. How is the story going to end? Oh, well, before I put this down, there's one other thing I want to talk about. I wanted to talk about the title. So, it's titled The Warden and the Wolf King. Well, you know, the Warden, Jenner, the Wolf King, Kalmar. What about Lily? She's kind of being sidelined in this title. As I was reading this book, I was thinking, why isn't Lily part of the title? She's playing a really pivotal role. And in fact, throughout a lot of the book, she seems to be playing a more important role than Janner and Kalmar. So I originally thought that Lily was getting sidelined by the title. And then I read the ending, and the title makes sense now. So, just gonna ignore the fact that I thought Lily was getting sidelined. So, is this a good book? Is this a good final book of the series? I think so. I think it is well written. It's longer than the others, clearly. And it has a lot more storylines going on, a lot more perspectives. We read the perspective of a variety of different characters in this book, and it's all managed very well. You know, there's no jumping around crazy. You don't get frustrated if you wind up jumping to another story because it's all very well paced out and very well told. I also like Marilee's. I forgot how her name is pronounced. I haven't seen the show in a while. I like how her story went. That was pretty cool. But I will say that while this book still keeps the same spirit of the other 3 books, it is a lot more intense and it can get kind of disturbing. So much so that I think it might be a little too much for some of the younger intended audience. At least when it comes to book 1, like the intended audience for that book, like the younger end, might be too young for this book with just how intense it gets. And also, like I said, how disturbing. The Cloven that Janner and Kalmar encounter, that was a lot. I'm not going to go into details, but at one point, I really do kind of feel like they went too far for a children's book with one of the Cloven. It's like, that's disgusting, that's disturbing, yeah. As a kid, that could totally mess with my head. I'll be honest. And I can't help but wonder how the show is going to handle that. My personal opinion, I think they should exclude it. I don't think they should have the more gruesome instance of the cloven, because there's some things that you can read about you're just not supposed to see, though. You're not supposed to actually visually see it. So, yeah. So I think at least at one point the book went too disturbing, went too far. But other than that, great book. And there is one thing, one revelation, so this is a slight spoiler, that I was just flabbergasted at. The fact that the majority of these terrible things all happened because of one guy's grudge. Seriously. Like the Gnag the Nameless, the Fangs, the destruction of Anira, all of these things happened because one guy was unofficially rejected by the girl he liked. And I say unofficially rejected because he never made a move. She just chose another guy who had actually made the move. So, and this guy, he couldn't accept that. He held this grudge for years and this secret just hope that one day this girl would suddenly, be with him. And due to that, all these terrible things happened. Because this one guy's grudge. Wow. And I'll be honest, that felt disturbingly real, because I've known some people like that. Not people who wind up destroying entire kingdoms. No. But I've known people who just cannot get over their pride. And hold some kind of grudge over somebody because they didn't get what they wanted. And they felt like they were wronged by it. So that was a very real thing. And it just shows just how dangerous that type of pride can be. And just how destructive those negative feelings can be. Not only to yourself, but to those around you, to the world around you. So that was crazy. That was a fascinating revelation in this book. So, yeah. Let's move on to happier things. Let's get that disturbing stuff out of the way. So, like I said before, one of the reasons the book was delayed was Andrew Peterson was apparently trying to find the right ending. Well, did he succeed? Did he find the right ending? Because sometimes, you're watching a series or reading a series of books and you're invested, and then the ending just doesn't work. It's mediocre, it's rushed, it's forgettable, whatever it is, it just doesn't work, and you're just kind of disappointed. That happens, and so I can respect Andrew Peterson delaying the book just so he can get the right ending. That I can respect, because sometimes you kind of feel like the creators rush through an ending just so they can get to another project because they're tired of it. There's hey, we've been working on this for a few years. I want to work on something else. Let's just push something out and just move on with our lives. Sometimes you get that feeling, right? Well, I think for the most part, Andrew Peterson totally nailed the ending. There's only one thing that I feel was a little lackluster, and that's the resolution to Artham's mental, his mental struggles. Artham's mental struggles. The resolution to that felt very incomplete. I mean, they've played a very important and prominent role throughout the series, so much so that it has pretty much driven the story, because Artham can't always be there to save the children, to save the Wingfeathers, because of his mental conditions. And then suddenly he's just kind of better. I kind of felt, and they give a reason for him being better, but it feels incomplete and lackluster compared to the torment that he has been experiencing for all these years. So, I feel like that one part of the ending was a little incomplete. Everything else, I think, worked extremely well and fit. I think the ending was the right ending. Now, that doesn't mean I have to like the ending, which is another thing I have to say that I respect Andrew Peterson for, is I think he found the right ending, even if it's not the ending that we want to read. And I kind of saw what was coming, just not too early in the book, but just a few pages before, the big thing happens. Yeah, I suspect it was going to happen. I really wondered if he was going to go through with it, and he did. And that's another thing when it comes to creation and ending, well, storytelling and endings, is sometimes I think the creators will go with the happy ending, the easy ending, because that's what we want. We want the happy ending, the easy ending, the good, clean, yay ending. But it may not be the right ending. And sometimes we don't really write the stories, we find the stories. There's an actual ending to the story that we don't create, we find it because it's the right ending. And even if we don't like the ending, it feels complete. And we feel satisfied. Because even I can imagine if the ending was a little bit different, if one particular event doesn't occur, that it'd be a lot happier and you just wouldn't feel as satisfied at the end because it just doesn't fit. So I can respect what Andrew Peterson did with the ending of this book. And I think he nailed it. I think he finished the series very, very strong. And that's the Wingfeather Saga. Now, I'm going to do a couple more videos on this saga because there's a few more things I want to talk about. One of which I want to talk about the series in general. Because there's a few themes that I thought were fascinating that I think would be interesting to talk about. And then I want to do another video on a particular theme from this book, from book 4. Primarily the music, because music played a very prominent role in this book particularly. It plays a prominent role throughout, which kind of makes sense because Andrew Peterson is a musician. So it makes sense, but in this one particularly, music plays a very important role. So I want to talk a little bit more about that. But have you finished the Wingfeather Saga? And if you have, what do you think of the ending? Do you think the ending was right? Did you like it? Did you not like it? If you want to go into specifics, feel free, but make sure you note spoilers. But, again, I thought it was the right ending. But I'd love to hear what you think about it. Because, like I said, just because I think it's the right ending doesn't mean I have to like the ending. So, which is it's fascinating. As that's my reaction to the ending. Anyways, I'm rambling now. So thank you for being here. Thank you always for being here. I hope you have read the Wingfeather Saga. And if you haven't, I hope you pick it up sometime. Because it was a fun series. I think it works well for both children and adults. And I'll talk more about this when I talk about the series and as a whole. But thank you for being here. You are amazing. And go find yourself a good book.